So I'm sure you guys all know Stuart Varney from Fox Business. I guess it's like a Fox sort of shoot-off show. And he's the host of it. He's sort of like, I don't know, there's this weird phenomenon that exists in America where if something is said in a British accent, it's taken as if it's different or having more weight to it and different stuff like that. So that's kind of somewhat of the ploy of what Stuart Varney is doing here. But anyways, so Tomi Lahren had appeared on Stuart Varney's Fox Business. They talk about Maxine Waters and her having water thrown at her. But the main topic, it seems to be Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who Tomi Lahren has ironically said is like a stupid person because, you know, Tomi Lahren is obviously that, and so it's hilarious and super ironic for her to make those kinds of, you know, allegations and whatnot and use those as attacks. But I'm going to show you guys the clip, and then we're going to come back and talk about it. Check this out.
Here is Tomi Lahren. She's host of both First and Final Thoughts on Fox Nation. She's also author of the upcoming book, Never Play Dead, How the Truth Makes You Unstoppable. Love that title, Tomi.
Hey, thank you. It's the motto I live by.
Okay,
Especially with people like Maxine Waters. You can't play dead with these kind of people.
My premise on my editorial there is that it is Speaker Pelosi who has lost control of her caucus. What do you say to that?
Well, she absolutely has, but I think when we move into election season, I think that Nancy is very good at one thing, and that is the money, the fundraising dollars, and she's got that San Francisco machine ready to go. I think that people are going to have to rely more on her than they think. So whereas it looks like she's lost control with perception and public perception, I think she's still got the dollars and money talks. These Democrats love money.
But she's lost control of the newcomers and the old guard like Maxine Waters. I mean, they're calling the shots at the moment. Not so much the policy shots, but the public image shots of the Democrat Party.
And I think that that couldn't be better for us as Trump supporters, as Republicans, as conservatives. I think every time we let people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Maxine Waters, every time we shine a light on them, they look worse and worse. We're reminded why we voted for Donald Trump. The more that they call him crazy, the more that they call him dangerous, the more we see how dangerous they are. They're projecting, and the American people see it too.
Right around the time when Maxine Waters was organizing that mob rule crowd, I think you were attacked in public, were you not?
I was, in Minnesota, of all places. Yeah, so it was actually right before she said that, but then after that, you know, the attacks always kind of continue on conservatives, and we don't like to talk about it as much because we don't like to draw attention to it. Because sadly, after what happened to me happened, there was water thrown at me. After that, it actually got worse because people wanted to replicate and imitate it, and I think that people like Maxine Waters had a lot to do with it because people thought that there was their moral responsibility to confront and attack conservatives. They thought they were in the right by doing it.
That was appalling. I mean, that's a terrible thing in American politics when public figures, Kirsten Nielsen, she was forced out of a restaurant. Ms. Sanders, the press secretary.
The Red Hen, yeah.
Yeah, she was forced out of a restaurant and confronted in public. I think that's a terrible development for us.
It is. I think it's only going to get worse as we head into 2020.
Really?
I think it's going to get worse. I think that the more the Democrats lose on policy issues, the more they lose on things like Russia, which why they as Americans wanted that to be true is actually appalling in and of itself. They wanted our president to have conspired and colluded with Russia, so that's problematic on its own. But the more that they have fewer and fewer policy wins and they don't have really an agenda beyond coddling illegals and raising your taxes, the more they're going to resort to this mob rule, this mob mentality.
I'm sure you saw the video. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she went on Instagram Live once again. There she was talking policy, she was drinking wine, assembling some furniture. Now, I know that you're a vigorous opponent of her socialism. I got that. But will you admit that she uses social media? She uses it very, very well. She looks and sounds good and draws attention like that.
Well, she's been able to be successful on social media and gain a following on social media, and that's something that I also understand very well, so I applaud her for that. The problem is the policy is not there, the logic isn't there, the common sense isn't there, and the education really isn't there when it comes to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but she is good on Instagram. I'll give her that. I would rather she become an Instagram personality than represent anyone in Congress. I think that she would be better suited for that. Maybe The Bachelorette, maybe, you know, The Real Housewives archives of somewhere. That might be a better avenue for her.
You know, Tommy, I really hope that I never cross you, because a put down from you would be just catastrophic. I mean, I don't think I'd ever work again. But thank you very much for being with us today. We really do appreciate it.
It's great to be here.
All right, so there are a few interesting claims being made there. Now, there's one claim that has been made that we've seen her make before when she's been on Fox News. Actually, before I get into that, I do want to make a comment about Tomi Lahren. Tomi Lahren's career seems to really be like zoning off, because you don't really see much of Tomi Lahren anymore. I mean, it looks like Fox News doesn't really even have her on that much. Like, this is Fox Business, which is like a joke in the Fox News world, you know what I mean? It's like a midget show kind of thing. But, like, she barely appears on Fox News anymore. She might have been on Fox and Friends recently, but it's, you know, it's kind of getting rare, man. Her career really seems to be fizzling out at this point. It's pretty interesting to see. But let me know if you feel that way too. But anyway, so a point that she frequently has made about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is that she is somebody who is really good for the Trump movement. She's really good for the conservative movement. She's really good for the Republicans, because, you know, the more that you have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her, you know, her being dumb and her being a socialist and these left-wing policies, the more the Republicans are going to perform better. Which is legitimately the dumbest thing you could possibly think. Of course, if you go polling data-wise, if you look at all the different issues like Medicare for All, free college, etc., you notice a trend of the majority of Americans agreeing with those policy positions. So if you are to be so mistaken as to think that AOC is going to be, you know, in some way an ad or, you know, a help, an aid, a boost in some way to the Republicans, conservatives, or Donald Trump, you are sadly, sorely mistaken, because the truth actually exists in the opposite, with the opposite obviously being that actually it doesn't help you and it's going to be worse for you. By the way, what did Donald Trump do to really push the election in his favor? Because he could have lost both Ohio and Florida and still lost. He could have won both of those and still lost, which is crazy. He had to flip all through Rust Belt states, which was quite the feat. He stole left-wing policies. He said, you know, I'm not going to ship away your jobs. In fact, I'm going to bring them back. Meaning I'm going to stop the offshoring of jobs overseas, and I'm going to bring your jobs back. I'm not going to touch your entitlements. I'm not like the other Republicans. I'm not going to touch your Social Security or your Medicare. And so we see, remember Bernie Sanders' West Virginia town hall, where the people are basically saying, like, you know, we voted for Donald Trump because we thought that he was going to give us health care, and that's the reason why we voted for him. You know, the coal miners thought that he was going to bring them health care. So the idea that having Donald Trump against the ideology and the sort of sphere of AOC is beneficial is really stupid. And it also is funny because I did a video on Tomi Lahren going after Bernie Sanders shortly after he had announced. And the whole segment was her just basically expressing how scared and afraid she was because she saw people she knew and her friends or whatever, or people that she saw. She legitimately seemed like, and what she was saying was she saw people who were, you know, in her mind falling for the propaganda or whatever of Bernie Sanders' beliefs. And it's like, wow, man, really remarkable to see that. And then you also, at the same time, think that AOC's proposals are not going to be, like, good against you. And also, funny, remember how Donald Trump, like, what did he say? He just said, like, Bernie's crazy or something like that? Like, he's very careful to go after Bernie. He's really, he'll throw out some, like, crazy Bernie shots every once in a while, but he's very careful. It's very interesting that he would do that. And then they briefly talk about the question of, you know, AOC's social media usage. And I actually tuned into the live stream of AOC, she basically had like some furniture brought in from IKEA that she was going to assemble herself. Because I guess in DC, she said that you don't normally have like two of everything. So you don't have like two toothbrushes to have like two that you typically have. Now, most people have like extras, you know. But that wasn't a good example. Most people don't have like, you know, two sets of things in different areas. You know what I mean? So basically she was putting together this stuff and at the same time talking about politics and answering questions from the Instagram chat. Now, they brought up that point because she's been a master at using social media. And Tomi Lahren is a social media phenomenon, kind of, right? She was doing really well on Facebook when she was doing the Blaze, and that's kind of how she really got out there. And that whole kind of thing went out. And AOC is absolutely a master at social media, no doubt whatsoever. She's amazing. But there are these Democrats who think that they would be able to use social media in a good way. So, like, there was, I think, a meeting held by AOC where she was trying to teach other Democrats to be good at using social media. But the problem is that if you have the social media skills without the content, it's not going to work. It's a combination of both. You have to be good at both social media as well as have good content and be right on the issues. That's the thing. And so if you are like a corporate Democrat who's about to go on, who's a congressman or woman, and you're going to go on Twitter and try to up your game or Instagram Live, it's not going to work because it's not going to be together. So, you know, what's his name? Beto O'Rourke, he just absolutely gets flamed when he's like, you can pay for my gas tank, or he takes a picture of him at the dentist, or, you know, other people doing that kind of stuff too. And then people memeing Elizabeth Warren for the whole beer thing and whatnot. But anyways, and then at the end, she throws some little pot shot of saying that, you know, I'd prefer if AOC was on Real Housewives or whatever that show. But the projection of that, or I don't think it's projection. Sorry, it's more like irony in this situation, because the irony of her saying that, while everyone on the planet is telling her to do that instead of doing political commentary, is super hilarious. And so, you know, in situations where, for example, she goes after Cardi B saying, "Oh, you're a dumb person who is really, I'm glad that you're the face of the left and the Democrats because you're so dumb." And everyone points out that, hey, you're the dumb one who's the face of the Republican Party. And so it's extremely ironic that you would say that. And that's truly what Tomi Lahren's situation is like.